last night's a blur. Don't know for sure, but I'm ready for another round. We're talking shit, don't hear a sound. Take a hit and pass around by yourself.
Okay, hey everybody, I hope you guys can hear me okay. This is the Overpass live stream. My name is Eric and I make apps. Thanks everyone for showing up. Hey Mega Man was first today. Aniket, what do you do when AdMob is terminated? Let's talk about that a little bit today because I've had that question a lot in the comments this week. And Azimuth, hey everyone, greetings from the Philippines. Hey, how's it going? Azimuth, I was in the Philippines back in March, right? We went to La Luz Resort. We met up with the team and everything. I thought it was beautiful. And I'm sure it's really hot right now. I mean, it's hot in the UK, but you know, whenever I complain about the heat, it seems like everybody who watches the channel is in a hotter location than I am in. So, but yeah, I don't know how it's going over there. Post Beloy, yo, what's going on, Eric? Hey, Post Beloy, hey, how are you? And Rodrigo says, I'm here, not sure I'll stay, but I'm in the background though. Dude, you're here in spirit. That's cool. Thanks, Rodrigo. All right, so this week has been like it's just been a busy week for me. So it's been like a lot of just running around. Yeah, I've had a lot of meetings. We have a few projects that are nearly complete. It seems like I haven't been answering a lot of emails, even stuff from clients, because I've been like I've always been checking on my phone and I've been going from here to there, and not even business stuff. Some of it's been like family related. You know, I'm in this Toastmasters group, so this week I had volunteered to be the Toastmaster of the evening, which is like the MC for the whole thing, like the host, right? And I completely messed up everything on it, but I also stressing beforehand there, right? And just, you know, a lot of being the family taxi and everything like that. In terms of like revenue, the revenue was doing really well at the beginning of the week, and for some reason the ECPM on AdMob the last 2 days it just sunk. My impressions are good, but the RPMs are really low, which I have no idea why. Oh, Sumayu, can you get a hey ya? Hey ya! Hey ya! Sorry about that, Sumayu. Malek, hello from Tunisia. Awesome, Tunisia. I'd love to go to Tunisia one day. That would be, I think that must be really good. Malek says I speak too fast. See, all right, see Malek, some people say that I speak too slow. I'm gonna try to speak a bit slower, but I've had like a comment on the video saying, Eric, I like your videos, but you talk too slow, so I have to watch it in 1.5 speed just so I don't get bored. And I thought, great, you know, this is something that I haven't heard a lot, and especially if I get excited about something, I might tend to talk a little bit fast about it, which is also the reason why I say a lot of the ums and ahs and you knows and filler words. So at the beginning of this year, and I did a video about this. I had like my New Year's resolutions for the year, and one of them was to make the channel better than it is by improving the way that I speak. So I purchased these online courses. One was like Roger Love's Voice Academy or whatever, and so I started watching that. And one of the reasons why I say those and the ah and the you know, and I've been criticized so much about them in the past, is because I speak too fast and I'm trying to fill the dead space. So yes, Malek, maybe I will try to speak a little bit slower, and but you know, so I'm like a fan of the videos. Hey, thank you very much. I hope we can keep them going. Tech with Me says, hey, I like your video. Hey, thanks, Tech with Me. Leandro, thanks very much for coming by. And Sumanyu, will you remember me from now? Oh my God, well, I'll try. Yeah, I'll try. And Asma says the total number of lifetime stalls in Google Dev Console has been removed, and recently Google was fined $5 billion USD. I didn't see that. I haven't been looking at the news. Have they been? What was the reason for that? Was it something to do with GDPR kind of thing? I mean, Google is, you know, I feel bad for Google and Facebook and all the other platforms and YouTube, because the governments, they start fining them for things. It's usually the older people who don't necessarily understand, you know, why they do what they do. You know, the fact that anybody could put any content onto YouTube is, I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing, and it can be a bad thing because people put a lot of bad stuff on there, especially for younger kids. But they start fining, you know, YouTube about it as if YouTube was the one to do it, or they start finding Facebook for fake news, like Facebook's supposed to know what's a fact and what's not a fact. and they get a really hard time about it. The good thing is, though, they can afford it, but it still seems like every time we see something like that, they're always getting sued, right? So, hey, MUK, hello from India. Hey, how's it going? Let me just go up and answer the first question, because Aniket Kumar came on second comment of the whole stream, and say, what do you do when AdMob is terminated? Now, has it been terminated the entire account, or has it just been a single app? Because I've had apps suspended on AdMob before, and usually what I do is I'll say, and because the reason it's been terminated is usually because of placement. Like they say, this is we think people are clicking on this accidentally, which is not something that I intentionally do. But especially like if I have a interstitial that takes too long to load, and it just pops up, like I'm not preloading the interstitial. I had at one point, I was having like a dialog box that would come up. So as they go to click it, the interstitial will pop up right before then, and it would click on the ad, right? Which was not intentional, but it was happening. So I got suspended for that, and I told them, okay, I've removed it. Also in the early days, they told me just show an interstitial when the app first opens. Everybody does it, so I did, and then they changed the rules around that. They said no, the interstitials have to be at a good transition point in the application, and interstitials are annoying anyway. So I got suspended for that, but then I made the change, and then I appealed it. I responded to it, did an appeal, said, hey, I get what you're saying. Everything was totally, everything was totally accidental. I was not trying to defraud anybody or anything like that. Can you please reactivate the app? And they have. Every time I've had a suspension through AdMob, they've reactivated it if I've corrected the mistakes. But I haven't been suspended for self-clicking or anything like that, which is really easy to do. Well, I mean, it's not that easy to do, but what you should be doing is adding test device, so that you're showing the test ad when it comes up. And sometimes when you connect the same device over and over again, sometimes it would just reassign a new device ID to it, and which is annoying because you don't even realize that you're not doing it anymore. They've gotten better though recently. I've noticed that recently the test ads say test ad at the top, so at least then you can know. Before it was just based on content, like it would say something like AdMob test ad, which was never very good. Now it looks like they're showing genuine ads, but with test ad at the top, so it's a much better testing experience. But for you, Aniket, I would say if you fixed it, then appeal it. Say I didn't realize it. If it's something that you've done wrong, like you've been trying to defraud them or something like that, learn your lesson, set up another account under a different name, and see if you can do it that way. But and I don't know how difficult that is to set up another account. And a lot of people have been asking me lately about, can you set up a separate account, like set up multiple accounts for Apple? And I don't know. I've never tried it. I've had friends who have done that, but they were like setting up separate bank accounts and everything like that, and it just sounded too difficult to me, like you're running a shell corporation or something like that. So I've never actually done that. But I mean, if that's something you have to do, then that's something you have to do. Also, let's go down here to Jack Run. Hey Eric. Hey, how's it going, Jack Run? Welcome. Let's see. Post Malloy says, I'm doing tutorials on my own channel has helped me speak more clearly, but I can't speak fast and be clear at the same time. Yeah, that's cool. Post Malloy, yeah, let us know your channel name. I think if you try to post the link, I think it gets blocked by YouTube. But yeah, cool. That sounds good. I don't really do very many tutorials. People have asked me. Somebody sent me an email earlier in the week. I don't know if it was specifically to me. It was one of these ones where I couldn't tell if it was specifically to me or if it was a blanket email saying that I should put Android tutorial apps on Udemy and he would help me market them. And I thought, I think as an Android developer, I think I would probably be not as good as other Android developers, like the real code, because I've been looking at all the other things, the marketing and what can we do in terms of setting up everything on Google Play. Make sure that all of that stuff is optimized, where I haven't been doing the coding as much as I can, and I can be very quick and dirty when I'm doing the coding myself, that kind of stuff. So, but it's not always the case. Tech with Me says, I'm from India. Cool. Graham Ford finally made it this week. Hey Graham, how's it going? Let's see. Malek Khalif says, are mobile app markets too saturated with apps? I think this is the end of this business. You know what? Every market gets saturated. I was talking to a guy. I was going to do a video about this. I've been racking my brains to try to think of the next video topic. But I was talking to a guy. He was talking about he used to be in the publishing business, but he was like the publicity for publishers, and he said authors don't realize this, but books don't sell unless they get publicity, right? That's just, it just doesn't happen. Authors of books seem to think that all they have to do is write a really good book and it will sell like crazy. But no, they need the publicist to go out there and publish it. And I was listening to this. I said, it's exactly the same with apps, right? The app market is too saturated. And that was, he did that, you know, years ago. And now you think, look at ebooks. I mean, ebooks are a saturated market. YouTube videos is a saturated market. Apps are a saturated market. Websites, definitely saturated market. Everything that works, or everything that gets a bit of momentum, becomes saturated. I mean, we have a world that is growing and growing and growing, and you could try to find the markets that are not saturated, but I think you're going to have a hard time doing it. And as soon as you do find one, you only have a limited amount of time before it gets saturated again. So this is one of the reasons why I stick with the app market. I think we just have to get better at dealing with the challenges of having like very saturated markets. And I've showed you before how I come up with an app that does really well and it's kind of unique and everything like that, and it gets copied again and again. So I have to stay ahead of those guys or report them and everything like that. But I mean, I think every market you do is saturated. You know what I've been reading a lot of, and for like the last 2 years I've been reading about it, is Amazon FBA or drop shipping type things. Watch this course on drop shipping, and in a way I'm kind of swayed by it because it seems like it's easy money. The people who are selling the courses make it sound like it's easy money, but I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's just as saturated with everybody else, because by the time I hear about this, and I just got like the course for like $10 on Udemy or something like that, but it's all over YouTube and everything. I'm sure that's saturated too, right? There's, you know, drop shipping items from China, that's a saturated market. As soon as something happens, you know that it's saturated when people are showing up on your Facebook or your YouTube pre-roll ad saying, hey, you should get rich using my course. You should get rich doing this. In fact, I was going to, one of the video ideas I had, which I was thinking about doing this week, this coming week, I was thinking about like telling you guys I have a course, and like how just join my simple course for $49.95 and just, you know, making fun of all that kind of stuff, because I'm so sick of hearing it. I am so sick of seeing webinars. I've read books on webinars. I've read books on drop shipping, and then when it's when you start seeing it everywhere, you start thinking, yeah, you know what, I've never seen a webinar that I liked. I've never seen anything like that. So I think we could talk about the market is too saturated, and maybe, you know, and move along, or we could say I'll stick with it. How do I get better with it? How do I make something that's unique? How do I serve different markets? And I talk about the web in the early days. I can remember thinking the web was dead. I can remember 2002 thinking every website that could have come out has come out, and and they're done with it. But they keep rebranding themselves, and at the same time, I'm working internally on apps within a bank. So, working on tools, not just web as a, we're going to get rich with this website. And that's why we're starting to focus a lot more on enterprise apps, because I think there's more of a market there, that people are carrying around these really powerful devices in their pockets, and which I totally believe in. And that's one thing about this week when I was talking about them removing the total number of downloads. It really sucks because I like seeing those total number of downloads, right? But it's going to be really hard for new developers coming on the scene to break into that market. So that is one of the good things about Google Play changing their algorithms every so often, so that we could get some fresh meat in there, so that some of the good apps that don't even get discovered, maybe they'll bubble up a little bit. Even though for those of us who are a bit more established, I kind of like being established. I like resting on my laurels, but just the way that I think about it. But let me know what you guys think. Post Malloy says, "Tech with me." Oh, sorry, I've lost my place here. It's like, how fast can your car go? It's different for every app. Azimuth says Google was fine for forcing Android phone makers to install Google Play and Google Search, Google products. Oh, you know what? I can remember when Microsoft had all that trouble because they were forcing people to put Internet Explorer on their Windows PCs. Mega Man says, "Hi Eric, can you talk about your developer career timeline? When did you create Overpass Apps as a company? Did you develop play apps whilst did I develop or play apps whilst an employee or a contractor?" So okay, I'll go through that. Yeah, let me go through that really quick, because I do talk about it sometimes. So when I came to the back when I came to the UK, I got my degree. So out of high school, I went into the Army because I didn't think I was smart enough to go to university, which is one of these low self-esteem things. So I joined the Army. I told them I wanted to be a cop. And to this day, I have no idea why I said cop. It just sounded really cool sitting in the recruiter's office. And they said, well, what kind of job would you like to have in the Army? And I said, I think I'd like to be a military police, because then maybe I could become a police officer when I get out, right? And I don't remember ever thinking I wanted to be a police officer before that, except I'm watching TV or something, or after. But for some reason, that's what I told him. And he said, well, we want you to take this test to see if you can learn languages. And I'm like, I actually failed French, so I didn't take that. So then they sent me to the Army, and they gave me this test, and they said I did really well. So I told them if I could learn Russian, then I would join. And they said they couldn't guarantee me Russian, but I'd probably get Russian, and then I learned Chinese. And then after that, so I did 4 years there. I was really tempted to stay in. I was on the fence about whether to stay in or not. And then I got out of the Army and went to university, and I was working all these different part-time jobs. At one time, I was working 3 part-time jobs, and I got my degree. I told them my degree was going to be in journalism because that's what I did in high school. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a writer. And as soon as they said the journalism course, like one of the journalism courses was full, and then I completely changed my major, just like that. I said I'll be a history. I like history. I'll be a history teacher, because that seemed like a very low bar for entry. I know what history teachers do. It seems like a good job to have. Dude, I would hate to be a history teacher now. I would hate to be going into the same class every day. History doesn't change that often, and dealing with students who don't want to be there and everything. But so anyway, when I came to the UK, I had no job prospects, and I got a job in a dairy packing yogurt into boxes, like all night long, and I was looking for jobs every day. But the thing is, a lot of people at the dairy were looking for jobs every day, and nobody was moving on. I was making minimum wage, and we had no money. We had lots of debt, and I had a baby, a brand new baby, and it was just a really bad time, very stressful, lots of arguments, lots of shouting. And then I got so I applied. I had like 3 different interviews, and then I got a job at Barclays as a trainee software developer, right? And I don't even know how I got the job. It was like, I talked about this before. I went to this interview, and I told them my only experience with a computer was like WordPerfect or something like that. And I had like a Commodore 64 when I was a kid, and a VIC-20, but I didn't really do any coding. And they said, they said, would you be willing to learn? And they gave me this course, and it turns out they didn't give that to a lot of people, but they liked a lot of my problem solving skills. And I showed up the first day of the job, and I realized how embarrassing it was when you don't know anything. Like, I hated asking everyone for help, and everyone was annoyed with the fact that I was asking these questions. So they had this learning library, and I started, where you could check out these books, and they would have all like the latest computer books, and I would check them out like every week. So I had this 2-hour train commute from Wantage, where I live now. I still live in the same town, and it took two or 2.5 hours, depending on how good the trains were that day, there and then again back. So I was always reading, and I would always check out these books because I couldn't afford to buy them myself. And so I would check them out, and I'd read all of them. I read the JavaScript Bible. I read Visual. The biggest impact on my career was Visual Basic 5 in 21 days, and I was reading through that, thinking I could learn this, I could do this, and I was reading through it and learning. But then also I would have these jobs with Microsoft Access and stuff. My day job, but I need to get into development. I'm tired of doing this kind of stuff, and eventually I did, and every time they'd have a course, I'd take the course, and then I got within like 18 months, I got Microsoft certified, which was big back in the early 2000s, not so much now. And I moved to another company where I was making the same amount of money, but it was much closer to home, and it was like a small company, so it was like a family company. And I worked there for 3 years, and I absolutely hated it. I just could not stand working at this company. It was like a lot of, back and forth. And that's when I decided that I didn't want to work for people anymore, or not. There has to be more than this. They just really had me. They were paying me just enough. In the 3 years, I never had a rate increase or a salary increase. In fact, they had a bonus the first year, and then they took it away the second year. And I was the kind of guy who would just complain to anybody. I'm sure you worked with people like this before. Excuse me. Like, who was just always the wet blanket in the room. That was me. I mean, if I would hate to hang around with me back then, because I was always, yeah, everything was bad. I went home to San Diego, like, after 6 months of working there. I complained about the job, and then I went back to San Diego again 2.5 years later, and everybody says, so what are you doing now? I said, I'm still working at the same place. I said, I thought you hated it. And I said, I do. But the market, all this stuff, there's nothing I could do. And it was just, you know, poor me, poor me, poor me. The dot-com bubble had burst, and then I decided, I went in one day and I gave them an ultimatum. I said, I need a salary increase. I need a salary increase, or I'm leaving. And I did a whole proposal, like a PowerPoint thing, saying like the rate of inflation versus my salary, in which my salary was like actually going down because the bonus had disappeared. The rate of inflation was going up, and the company had just been sold to another company. And it was like a family business. It was like 7 people in the whole company. And then one day the owner drives in his Porsche, and you know, and because they'd really just made out, but I didn't even get anything. And it was like, it was when you started to see how it all worked, how you know I was being ignored, and the reason I was being ignored was because I had no other options. I was too afraid to leave. I mean, when I was in a permanent job, I was always afraid of losing my job. And finally, when I came back from San Diego the second time, and I was on the plane, I was thinking, I just can't, I can't do this anymore. I mean, what am I going to do? And then so I gave them that ultimatum that I would, you know, if they didn't give me a salary increase, and it was a small increase I was asking for too. I said, if I didn't get that increase, then I was going to leave. And they said, they brought me in, and they said the same every time I'd ask for a raise. And I don't know if you guys have ever had to ask for a raise. It is just so demoralizing. By the way, I'm sorry if I'm rambling on. I know this was just one question. But if any of you guys have ever had to ask for a raise, it is just terrible. You go in there and you're like, yeah, excuse me, can I just have a minute? Yeah, I'm just not getting paid enough. You know, the rate of inflation, I've got a new baby on the way, all this kind of stuff. And they go, ooh, yeah, Eric, yeah, you know, the thing is, and that with their whole thing was, we have a policy. By the way, there's only 7 people in the company. There was no written policies anywhere. Our policy is we only pay the market rate for developers. So, and actually the rate for developers actually gone down. So, right, despite the fact that, you know, I was going, by this time I got into self-help books, and I was like going to courses on my own at night. I was going to all these different things so I could learn and improve. And I thought, if I can help them improve the company, then they have to give me a raise. If I could just do enough so that I generate enough. And where I was doing it, and they were very happy with me. It was like, just like, well, you know, Eric, you're really taking things up another level. Eric, you know, all this kind of stuff. And but then when I asked for a raise again, I was like, ooh, yeah, you know, the thing is, you know, and then. So that was the day. So that day when I came in and I gave them the ultimatum, the PowerPoint and everything, said, you know, this is why I believe I need a raise, and why I deserve a raise. And they said, ooh, yeah, Eric, the thing is, could we review this in another 2 to 3 months? Which is what they said every time. And then I said, no, we can't. I need to know the answer this week, because I just read a book on negotiation. And that was the scariest thing that I've ever told anybody. And they said, okay, we'll get back to you. And then at the end of that week, at the very end of that week, like Friday after, you know, Friday at 5:10 or whatever, I finally get a call, and they say, because I was in their office, but you know, the owner wasn't there, and he says, yeah, we could give you an increase, but only this little amount. But you know, if you stick with us, and you know, and all this stuff. And I said, no, I'm sorry, I have to leave. And the thing is, I didn't have another job to go to. He asked me if I had another job, and I lied, and I said yes. I thought that would sound better. So I quit a job, having no savings and having no place to go, and it was the scariest thing ever. I remember being almost in tears. No, I mean, I was. Oh my God! What in the quiet moments by myself? Yeah, I did break down in tears. It was bad, because I had 2 little boys, and you know, Christmas was coming up and everything. But it was like, you know, I couldn't believe, and I felt so selfish. But my family they got behind me. I mean, they were like, you were miserable there. You need to do something. And I said, if I can't find something soon, I'll work at the grocery store. And I thought I was lucky enough to get into IT to begin with. And I thought what I'd really like to do is work for myself and maybe be a contractor or something like that. And for a month. So then that month notice that I had to serve out on this, this job that I said I was going to go to, I served out this notice and I didn't even have a job to go to. It was so scary because I'm trying to live this lie, and at the same time I'm trying to sneak out to interviews, any interview I could get. And I can remember going to see one recruiter, and he said, this recruiter, I had to go to his office for some reason, and he said, I can't believe you left the job market, left a perfectly good job in a job market like this. And that really scared me. And then I started just like going to all these different interviews. And then after I left that job, I had no income then. So I wanted a raise, and then I went down to 0. And I had, for like a month, I was just looking for any job I could get. And I was sending out like 10 or 20 CVs a day. I was applying to anything. I mean, any jobs. And we had no savings. I had this freelance project that I did, which I finally had time to finish up, but didn't bring me enough money. We borrowed money, and I could not tell people that I quit my job. I told them I was made redundant. I told them that the market's bad, but then I got everybody's sympathy, and that made me feel 10 times worse. But then for some reason, like after a month of just looking, and I think I was about ready to go get a job stocking shelves in the town. And then I got 3 interviews like in the 2-day span, and it was like, for contract positions. And after having nothing before that, and I went to all 3 interviews, and they all 3 offered me a position, and I took the one at BBC, and then I became a contractor. And then so that's how I got into contracting. And then I did a BBC contract, and it was just a short 10-week contract. And when it came up for renewal, I had no idea that it would be renewed, so I'd already had something else lined up. And when they came to me saying they wanted to renew the contract, I said, I'm already going to this investment bank because they made me an offer, because I was constantly looking. I was like, I am never gonna be in a situation where I'm gonna let somebody else control my future like that. I am always gonna have enough money ready. I am always gonna be ready to be fired. I'm always gonna be ready to be out of work. And then I got a job at an investment bank, and that's what I did. It was like a 3-month contract. It was very boring, and because they didn't have any work for me to do, so I tried to look busy, and I was trying to get in so I would be, I would have enough to do. And that's when I decided. It was when I was at the BBC contract, and I was taking the tube home, where I heard the guy talking on the phone about, and I talked about this once before, where I'm on the train on the way home to talk to for like a kids thing at the school in the middle of the day. So I'm sitting there on the train, and somebody's like, some old guy on the phone talking about, he's probably some salesman or something, says, we need to get this resource for this project and that resource and this resource. He's our resource there. He's our resource there. And I just started thinking about how I'm just a resource. That's all I am to anybody. I'm just a resource. And I thought, I want to do something more. I want to start my own company. So that's when I started Overpass in 2004. But I still did contracts because I was really bad at finding clients. And then so I would go to one contract, and then I would save, because I would make sure I saved enough money. I would make sure that I don't ever want to be in that situation again, where I'm like, 2 weeks from starving, right? Or a week from starving or whatever. So I had enough money saved up, and I would take it. I would work in these contracts, and after like 2 years, I'd say, I need to move it. I want to do my own thing. And then I would go set up my home office, and I would make a few cold calls, but other than that, did nothing. And I would take like a year doing that kind of stuff. And it wasn't like I took the year off, because that wouldn't make sense, but I would take the year and I would start doing that stuff and ultimately get nothing done. And I would keep doing that. I'll keep bouncing back and forth for like 10 years. I'd go back to another contract. The contract would last years. Nobody's ever asked me to leave a contract. I've never been fired. They've never said, your contract is over, we're not renewing it. Every contract I've ever had has been renewed, and it was for a lot of money too, but I thought, it's not doing what I want to do. It's not having the freedom, and that's why I did it. And when I got into apps, that was when I started to get a bit of momentum there and say, how can we make this work? And now it's looking at the business side of things and making all that work. So long story, but that's that's the progression. So in terms of technology, if you're wondering technology, Microsoft Access, and then VBA code, and then Visual Basic, and then it was VB and JavaScript and ASP pages, classic ASP, and then it was the .NET Core, and it was C#, and then C# goes into a lot of jQuery and just client-side JavaScript, and then that got me into Node.js. I've done PHP in the past for certain projects. I've done some Java. I've done SharePoint. We got into SharePoint with one of the contracts I worked at, and it was like they were like so big on SharePoint, and I hated working with SharePoint. I still hate working with SharePoint. Also Salesforce, a lot of Apex stuff, and then the apps has been Android, Java, a little bit of Objective-C when I have to, but I like working with Swift, but I like the hybrid stuff. So the Ionic stuff is mostly what I do is Ionic and then a bit of React Native. So anyway, that's a long story. Let's see. Oh, I'm way behind. I hope you guys aren't bored. Let's see. Let's see. Sorry. So, Post Malloy says, okay, X-Tech Plus code. How do you get clients for your agency? Word of mouth mostly. A lot of them are come through the videos. So also I've done a bit of reaching out to companies to try to get involved there. We've done a lot with SEO in the past, so we make sure that we have lots of location pages on our website, and then also putting a lot of content out there so we have enough links going back to it. Also the for AdMob, for the house ads, for a while we were doing the house ads pointing back to our company, but we also have to think about the ideal client. So a lot of times the ideal client is not somebody who's an app user. That's like targeting the wrong market, but we might do something like right now. Well, actually I just stopped them, but we had an ad for construction companies using LinkedIn ads. So the LinkedIn ads will, if they click on the LinkedIn ad, if they come to the website to a certain landing page, then it plants the LinkedIn cookie, but it also plants the Facebook pixel so that we can retarget those ads to them, and try to do that and just make sure that they know about Overpass and maybe serve some ads there. But yeah, there's lots of different ways that we do it, and we get like I said, we get a lot more than I can handle sometimes. So you know, I just turned one down this morning, which I was working on. Said, yeah, we'll get you this quote and everything, and I said, look, I'm just sorry, I just can't do it. We need to we just got too much going on. So, but there's lots of different ways of doing it, and there's whole books written about prospecting. There's a book over here called Fanatical Prospecting, which is very good. That's more on the outbound stuff. So you have the outbound, which is, you know, cold emailing. Ever since GDPR, I haven't been doing any cold emailing, but we did a lot of that before. And then you've got the inbound stuff, which is people find the videos, or they'll find certain topics, or they'll find blog posts that we've done and everything like that and come in. So I mean, every bit of content is, I mean, every time you produce something, you're basically standing up saying, you know, look at me, and you're putting something out there that they may find those keywords. The videos not so much, because I'm really bad about titling the videos, and I keep thinking if I made the videos for potential clients, you guys would find them boring. So it's kind of like the two different audiences. I haven't published an app video on the channel in years, because I did one like after we got a bunch of subscribers, and it had loads of thumbs down because nobody wanted to see that ad for my app, right? But it was the only reason I put it on there was so I could put it on the Google Play page. So now if we do it, I'll do it as unlisted. So but that's it. Post Malloy says, how do you feel about Google Flutter? I've been into Android dev for a few months, but it seems incredibly beneficial to use a cross-platform option, especially as a single developer. So last Saturday I came into the office and I did the there's a really good Flutter tutorial by Bram someone. It's like an hour and 47 minutes. I did an hour and 10, and I need to go and finish it. And I really like the way that it works. I mean, I didn't like the way that Flutter nests so much of the controls, but I mean, but you could take those and make different modules and everything like that. And I love using JavaScript. I love using, and not so much TypeScript, but I love using classic JavaScript. and Flutter uses Dart, and it's very much it's very similar. And I thought that tutorial was very good. And I've been looking at Udemy tutorials and everything, or Udemy courses to take, but I thought that was a really good one. I should find that and put it in the comments or something. But it was I'm sure there's loads of other good ones out there taking time to do it. And I think the cross-platform, the reason I liked Ionic and the reason I like Cordova is because it's cross-platform. Not so much for the language, you know. This was one of the problems I had with Xamarin. Xamarin, I mean, my biggest problem with Xamarin was when I went to go learn it, it was expensive to use, and I think now it's free or something. I think the price has dropped a lot on it since Microsoft bought it. But it always marketed itself as use the technologies you already know, and I'll learn a new technology as long as I can use it in both places. That's, you know, the cross-platform part of it was more important to me than using something I already know, because already in my head I'm thinking, if I use something I already know, is it going to be as good as if I use the native? And I think with the Flutter using Dart, and Dart is compiled, I think it looks like a much better option. But that's just my thing, and I really like doing that tutorial that I did. So Sumiyu Sud says, Eric, my friend, got his Google developer account terminated. What can I do for him to make a new one? We're besties, and I really need to help him. I don't know if you can do a new one unless you set up a whole nother Gmail account, which you could do. I've had to set up another Gmail account for Google Play Music. I had Google Play Music through the Overpass account, which we use through Google Apps for Domains, but I wanted to do it for the family, and that didn't support the business one, so I had to set up a second Google account and everything like that. But I would imagine if you set up another Google account, you could do that. I mean, I'm not sure what else is difficult there. X-Tech Plus, how do you charge your clients? Monthly or fixed price? Any specific payment platform you use? So we do fixed price, which is, you know, we don't do time and material, which is good and bad. So it's bad because I take on the risks. I mean, it's bad for me because I take on the risk. If a project runs over, that's all on me. But it's good because if the project runs over, the client's not freaking out and saying, you know, but you said it would take this long, so it's still on me. So we always do fixed price. We charge 25% right now. We charge 25% up front, 25% at the end of development, and 50% at go live. I may change that in the future because I've talked to other developers, and it's really hard once the app has gone live for them to make that big 50% payment, because it's already there, it's already live. Why would they? Right? It's almost like, was it Jerry Seinfeld had this thing in his act saying that they bring the bill to you at the end of the meal, but you're already full, so you're wondering, why would I pay this amount for this food, right? Whereas if they charge you before when you're hungry, then they would. So I think that's good. Let's see. Bojan Orama says, maybe you should do a video about Agile, Scrum. Do you use any of these methodologies? I have a Scrum Master certification, but it depends on the developers. I know a lot of the developers I work with, they say they use Scrum, but they don't give me any burn down charts or any, you know, daily Scrum meeting notes or anything like that. And when I work with the developers, it's most of the time we do Scrum sometimes. Like if it's one of the developers on my team, we've done Scrum in the past, and I like the burn down chart. That's the one thing I like, because it's something I could give to the client so they could see that progress is being made, or you know, how the burn down and everything works. But you need to get a developer who's willing to learn the Scrum bits and go along with that. So it depends. So it has to be a developer who's maybe a bit more seasoned, who sees the benefits of it. So Kevin Nascimento, hey, how's it going? How to sell an app as a service? I think that's a good question. And the video I did today was about owning the code and licensing out to others. And I think we have a couple clients who we've done like SaaS, software as a service things for them, and they have this recurring revenue, and I'm really jealous of it because I've always just sold the app straight to them. But I would imagine that would be it. So there's different ways. So if you do it through the apps, you have the subscription model through iOS. I think you do through Google Play too, and so you could do it that way. They still get the 30%, but if you do it offline, like they send them someplace else to make the payments, then you bypass that altogether. The same way that a lot of services do. If so, like a lot of things, like Amazon, for example, Amazon Prime Video, like you can't purchase anything through it. You have to go outside the app, purchase it through the website, and come back into the app on iOS anyway. Let's see. Post Malloy says, perfect point. It's so obvious when ads start showing up everywhere. From January to May, I feel like it's only ads were there. Join my social media market. I'm really behind on the comments here, guys. Sorry about that. Minute Code says, how necessary is it to learn graphic designing as an Android developer? What tips would I give you to new? What tips would you give to a new Android developer? By the way, I recently released my first app. I think graphic design is important, but as a developer, I think it's important you're a developer. And this is one of, like, I can't do design. And I've thought about it. I've checked books out from the library about how to draw, and I sit there and look at it thinking, I'm never gonna. It's gonna take me years to get to where I want to be as an artist. But and it's something I'm not really interested in, except I want to have like game sprites, and so that's why we have a designer on our team. And for a while, I was going to Upwork and hiring people, and that was painful because person you want is too busy, or they raise their rates because they did such a good job with you the first time, and things like that when you come back to them the second time. And yeah, I found it difficult. So so we have a full-time designer on the team, and so she helps with doing the intros to the videos and everything like that also, and the thumbnails and everything, which I think is good. So I think, I mean, you can only do so much, because you're talking about, as an Android developer, you're the guy who does the code, you're the guy who does the graphic assets, you're the guy who does the publicity, you're the guy who does everything. And at some point, I mean, if you have one app, you might be able to do it, but you've got to make sure that you do that. So let's see. Malek says, how many users use ad blocker ad card to ban ads even for mobile apps? I know. I think I've got the YouTube. I've got YouTube Premium. I got it last month so I could watch the Karate Kid series, Cobra Kai, and yeah, so I don't see ads anymore. And I'm thinking I might just turn it off because I don't really mind the ads that much. But they do get annoying for me. So I don't know if everybody sees the same ads. I don't know what's based on what you've watched, because I think it's probably pixel based or based on your viewing history. But I see a lot of stuff by ClickFunnels and Udemy and Wix and these kind of things. So let's see. Ice Cream Apps said, people always complain about ads. Ads is a lot, and ads, they annoy a lot. I mean, this was my biggest concern when I released my first app, was I don't want the ads to annoy people. Like, I don't want to annoy people. Do you know what? Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something personal. It's not necessarily to do with apps, but I once had this dream. Like, it was like one of those late morning dreams, like the days that you sleep in, you have these dreams that you remember. And I had this dream that it was like, look at my tombstone, and it was, or like they were asking me what I want to say on my tombstone, and for some reason I said, Eric Ruley, he never annoyed anybody. And I thought, and I woke up thinking, is that how I'm going to live my life? Like I could never be, a truck driver or a lorry driver, because I could never park on the side of the road and annoy all those drivers coming past. I'm always like, I walk through life not wanting to annoy anyone. And what kind of person can you be like that if you're too afraid to annoy anyone, if you're too afraid to ask for what you want, if you're too afraid to ask for the raise or ask for whatever. So when I think about the ads, I think releasing a free application, if they don't like the ads, they can pay to remove them, or they can delete the application. It's just, that's all there is to it. But there is a point where you have too many ads, and then the ratings go down. So it's not that cut and dry. But let's see. Minute Code says, let's see. Sometimes you have to reduce the amount of ads shown to preserve app quality. That's true. I mean, you don't want to have too many. I mean, we've all had apps that have had far too many ads. Yeah, people always complain about the ads. I mean, I hate the ads on television. So, but that's what makes television free. So, Risab Srivisa, should I use Firebase or PHP and MySQL for my first Android app? I assume you mean for the server. I like Firebase, but I think the nice thing about Firebase, or any of the cloud things, or even Node.js, is that I think it's easier to scale up. So if you use like Node.js and Heroku and you run into scale problems, I think it's easier to replicate that server many times over. Just spin up different nodes on Heroku. I think Firebase, you could probably just increase the methods. With PHP, because it is synchronous, or maybe it's different with later versions of PHP, because it's synchronous, you only have so much that it could do, and you're trying to replicate the amount of cores and everything there too. At least that's my opinion. I could be totally wrong because it's been a while since I've used PHP. I'm not a big fan of PHP. I every so often do a little bit of WordPress stuff, and I go back into PHP land, and I just but that's just me. Let's see. Burton Dev. Sorry, I'm way behind on the comments here, guys. Hi. Hey, Eric. Hey, how's it going? Have you ever tried offline marketing for your apps? And if so, was it worth the effort? I never have. I inquired. This sounds stupid, but I inquired about taxis. Like, I was thinking, like the taxis that you see in Oxford and London. I thought, how much those ads cost or whatever. And so I called up the taxi company that does the advertisements, and I asked them how much it cost to put an ad on the taxi, and it was like 400. It was like 450 pounds a year. And I thought about it, maybe, maybe, I wonder if that would be worth it for like one taxi going around, right? And afterwards, I came to my senses. I thought, that's never going to work. And then, but they still contact me all the time, man. They're always, hey, what do you think about that taxi? And I haven't told them, nah, I'm not interested anymore. It's just kind of, yeah, I'm still thinking about it. But so I haven't really. So, hey, Parash, Bot, hey, how's it going? Drew Bajati, hey, you're late today. That's okay. Radical is a cool name. Let's see. Why do you prefer JavaScript over TypeScript? I really like the benefits of TypeScript personally. I think just because I like the dynamic language, and I think TypeScript is good because it's a lot more like C# and it adds a lot more order to it. You have the autocomplete in the editors, everything like that. But it's just like another thing to learn. And really it's a subset of JavaScript. So you could just add make any of your apps TypeScript. And I've done that for some of our stuff. It's just every so often I just get confused and everything. So it's like, and it's better than CoffeeScript. Because I remember when CoffeeScript came out, it was really good for like Ruby developers who are used to indenting everything, because they were like, I hate using JavaScript. I want something that's not JavaScript. But I love using JavaScript. I love the fact that if you have an object and you could dynamically add a property to it without it complaining, but then you have the problem where you misspell a variable, or you misspell a property name on an object, and it still works. It doesn't complain. Everything still works. And you spend the whole day trying to find out why that is. So it would be better if the whole thing stopped, like I assume it does with TypeScript. But I think it's just, and I don't like the way that it transpiles into JavaScript anyway. So I was thinking, why don't I just do the JavaScript? But that's just me. I think it's because I'm old, Radical. I'm not radical anymore. When I was in the 80s, we used to say radical all the time, but I'm not radical anymore. Let's see. Adam Major says, Bram Van Bliss's channel on YouTube has a tutorial Flutter and other stuff. Yeah, it was Bram Van Bliss, and he's got a lot of tutorials on Flutter. And that was like Saturday. I came in, I was going to do a video on Saturday, and I ended up doing that tutorial. And I was like really into it. I had one screen over here with the tutorial, and I kept pausing it and doing the stuff, and I thought it was really good. Radical says, what's your daily routine? I'm really curious about how you find the time to run your business and also put quality content on YouTube. Sometimes I try to get up early, and for years, we're talking about 15, 16 years, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And over the past year, like since I did a video saying I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I started getting up at 5, and then 5:30, and then it's 5:45. And the last 2 days I got up like at 7. But when I get up at 7, I find that I'm behind already. By the time, so I get in the office at 8:30, I feel like I've already missed out on a lot of stuff because I haven't had the chats with the developers and all the other kind of stuff I do, and just to get into the right mood. Something about getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, that even when I was working in an office, I was up hours before everybody else, and they would come and, don't talk to me, it's Monday morning, and I was like already over that. I felt the same way at 4:15, but I didn't anymore. So you wake up, oh God, I just, so there's that. I come into the office. The last month or so, I started going to the gym like 5 days a week, and I started going in the middle of the day, because before I'd always go in the morning, and I started going in the middle of the day, so just to break up the day. But again, I always get to the end of the day and realize, where has the day gone? I shouldn't have spent so much time in the gym. So there's all that kind of stuff. And then the videos, every so often I try to get a few days ahead, but this past week I am just behind. I had an employee in the office and she was doing the video editing for a while, and that was working pretty well because then I could just film it, put it on Google Drive, and she can edit it. And she left, so I'm back to editing again, and sometimes you just have trouble with it. And sometimes it just takes longer than you think. Like yesterday, the one I did yesterday was the one you saw today, which is I was talking about ownership, and so I drove the car out to the Ridgeway, and I set up and I started filming. And as soon as I start the camera, I don't care where I am, somebody's gonna drive up and park right next to me. So this woman, there was all these spaces. She drives up and parks right next to me, like right where I was standing. So I have to stop talking, move the camera, and then she gets her dog out and goes out and walks. So I have to start again and then do it again. And sometimes I do it more often than not, but it's still fun to do. Like if I do it in the office, it's a lot easier, but we don't. But I enjoy doing it, and that's why I do it. But I'm starting to think this week is where I started thinking, am I going to be able to keep doing this for very long on a daily basis? Because can we keep coming up with topics to talk about? I'm not quite sure. Ramtin Ardeshiri says, hi Eric, what do you think about ad mob mediation? Which ad networks do you think are good? Did you try ad networks like InMobi, MoPub? How many networks are good to add? Thank you in advance. So I have done I've done InMobi. I don't think I've ever done MoPub. And MoPub has, if I'm correct in this, they have their own mediation library too. So you can use. So I've always used AdMob mediation, and at one point I think I had like 5 or 6 ad networks in there, so it really bloated up the size of the APK. And what I found was rather than making more money, I was making less, or was more distributed. So I would have like MobFox, for example. They owed me like $30 for like 2 years because I think the threshold was 50 or something. I forget what the threshold was, but just below is what I had. So there was that because I thought this isn't worth it. The eCPMs are too low, so I stopped it. So I haven't done it, and I haven't done very much with mediation recently, except for a Facebook audience network. And every so often I just turn it off because it's I question every so often. I question whether or not it's lowering the RPMs on the AdMob stuff. So that's why I stick with AdMob. Although, like I said, the last couple of days with AdMob, the RPMs have been really low. So it's like you wake up in the morning like, oh God, just ruins your day. So let's see. True Dream says, hey True Dreams, how you going? Hey Eric, can you please look at my game? It's called Fire Range on Google Play. Let's have a look. Okay, I just released it. Cool. Let's do that. Sorry everybody if I haven't got your questions yet. Let's see. Share my screen. Play.google.com. So this is True Dreams app called Fire Range. Let's see what everyone thinks. Is it Yneck? Is it this one? Must be. That looks really cool. Is that it? Let's see. So you've got the long title. You've got some reviews. Let's see are those your graphics? I mean, those look like pretty advanced graphics for this, or is it something that is this? It looks very cool. But I mean, how much of it is yours? Is it? Because it looks like this would take a long time. This looks like it would take a team of developers to do, unless I'm looking at the wrong one. So let me know. Let's see. So let me just. Let me come back to that one here in a second. Mega Man says, which developer and entrepreneur YouTube channels do you guys follow? Good question. I'm a Grant Cardone fan, but sometimes it's too much. I used to watch Gary Vaynerchuk a lot until Planet of the Apps came out, and I thought, you know what, I think it's the self-promotion is just a bit too much all the time. And there's a few different ones that I watch. Who do I watch now? I guess I haven't watched any in a little while. This week I've been rereading the E-Myth Revisited, which is a very good book on entrepreneurship, and so I think I've been reading a lot this week. Too Much Wasabi says, congrats on almost 11,000 subs, Eric. Hey, yeah, thanks very much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everybody for subscribing. Fabrice Kaufman says, hi, Eric. I would just like to know your honest opinion about PhoneGap and Framework 7. Do you think that PhoneGap is already dead and that we should start start directly with Ionic? I haven't looked at PhoneGap in ages. In fact, I always assume when someone says PhoneGap, they just mean Cordova, but yeah, I didn't realize it was still around. So I think you have PhoneGap Build, which is cool, but I haven't really used it. But Ionic is still there, and I like the fact that Ionic, if you're on a Mac, you can compile to both iOS and Android without having used PhoneGap Build or something like that. Well, you can with PhoneGap too, but yeah, I assume it's the same except with some extra added features, right? Same as Cordova, when Cordova is still going strong. Drubajati says, hello, Eric. Have you ever thought to create an app like Uber or any other successful apps to create your own business someday? Yeah, I've got some, not necessarily like Uber, and I think it's just because I hear so many clients talk to me about it's like Uber but different. But yeah, I do have an idea for one that it's been like a year and a half. This is one of the things where I think I need to just. I was watching one of the entrepreneur videos. I was watching one today on Valuetainment. It wasn't the one with Patrick Bet-David, but the other guy who wears like racing shirts. And he was talking about some like WeWork or something. He was talking about how the reason they got funding in the beginning was so that they could scale quickly. And I think because I self-finance, a lot of times we're not scaling quickly. Sometimes it's not scaling at all. And there's certain projects which we've started and then I just give up on because we've been too busy with client work or the funds run out or the budget's not there. And sometimes I think maybe we should just go into a bit of debt and build this kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, ideally, I think the passive income is the way to go. If you could do your own, active income and have your own company working for clients, it's going to be good. I mean, it's going to be fine. You'll make a living, but if you get the passive income coming through like we do with the apps, then I think life would be much better, and you have a lot more control over things. And even if you have a platform as a service or software as a service, it would be better. So TechAct says, hey, how to integrate ML or Python code in our app, except for MLKit. I don't know actually. I don't know how to I have no idea how to integrate Python code. ML, I imagine there must be libraries on it, but I've never actually done it, but hopefully someone else can do it. Radical asks how many hours do I sleep per night? Usually around 6. Adam made, Mr. Nettune says, how bad is ECPM on AdMob? They've been steadily decreasing their rates lately. Yeah, I'm not allowed to say what my RPMs are, but yeah, today is just, it's like, yeah, for like my total yesterday, like early in the week, it was like 80 pounds and it's like 60 today. So it was like quite a drastic drop, and the impressions are about the same. So let's see, Mega Man. Creative Venus is an interesting channel about making nice looking graphics in PowerPoint. Cool. Let's see. Oh, True Dreams. Yeah, so that was your app. So I think that's really cool. Still fighting for downloads. Well, I think. Let's go back to this again. Let's go back to True Dreams app because I think it looks really good. I mean, I haven't played it, but I think you've got the. I think the screenshots look really good. You've got action, FPS, 3D, shooting, and gun combat. I think all these keywords look. I think they look good. I don't know if they're too crowded. Let's go to App Annie. Let's go to our good friend App Annie. And just have a look to see what keywords you're ranking for. Talk amongst yourselves. Just be a second. Let's see. Fire range. It's like a Google Play. So you've got a nice long description. You've got one 1-star rating. Let's go to ASO, keywords in ASO, and have a look here. So let's look. So mine defaults to United Kingdom, and you rank for drone rent. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Let's go to United States. So FPS 3D, you rank 102. FPS shootings, FPS action games, you're outside of that. So you might want to look at some alternate keywords for this, because these seem to be pretty crowded keywords. They're all pretty much full except for SPF shooting action, USA drone shooting battle, high frame rate. I think you might, because I think your keywords are really good. It says what it does, but you might need to, because there's such crowded keywords, you might need to look for other keywords just to make sure that people find it. Try to think, if somebody was going to go through and look at it, what would they be searching for? If we take a look at the reviews, there's only 6, so it might be Friends, Pokemon League. That's an awesome FPS I found. Good graphics and gameplay. If these are your friends who have done it, I would say make sure that they give some better reviews. I mean, because you have a little bit of control over that. See if you can put a bit of keywords in the reviews too. Things about why they found it. Awesome FPS I found. Maybe something said a very interesting first-person shooter. I really enjoyed doing it or whatever. If you don't know who they are, that's cool, because you got some organic reviews. So hopefully that's. I think it looks good just based on first impressions. I'm really surprised if a single developer doing it, because I don't think I definitely couldn't do this kind of quality of stuff. But let's see. Oh, ASO has already been done by experts. Okay, cool. Let's see. Siddharth asked if I would check his app. Let me see. Can you check my app? What's it called? Mr. Nettude says Blitz, Fire, Shoot, and Destroy. Oh, is that an alternate name for that title or for that game, or is that something else to do? Oh wait, somehow I've missed some questions here. Radical says, how to make money doing online programming courses. What other platforms you recommend? YouTube, Udemy, other. There's like what is it? There's one called Kajabi. I've actually been looking at. Have been looking at this about doing some sort of not YouTube course, like some sort of course on ASO or something, so somebody doesn't have to go and watch 500 videos to get a little bit of information from each one. Could we go through and do one based on? Could we do a course just like condense everything down, so just the important things on ASO, basically what we know. But I haven't done that yet. Part of it is, a lot of the ASO experts that I've seen are they promise things that I don't know if they can deliver, and that's one of the things. I mean, I get contacted by ASO companies, and I think, show me some results, show me something you've done, and that's impressive, and they go, oh, this app, we did something to it and it had a 5% increase or something like that. So that's 5% is not impressive to me. If you're going to go through and overhaul the ASO, I want to see something. I want to see a spike. I want to see something that's genuine, because 5% is like the margin of error. Things go up, they go down, everything like that. So that's just my opinion on it. Let's see. Yeah, Linda. Oh yeah, Linda too. I thought you meant Linda and Treehouse Wallmaker. What's Wallmaker? Oh, that's the name of your app. Let's just have a look at that. So this is Siddharth Shakya's app called Wallmaker. Is it So Epic Apps? Oh, you've actually got a few of them. Is this like a standard name? So Siddharth, which one is it? Mr. Neptune says, have you ever heard of Steve P. Young? Yes, I did a video with Steve at the beginning part of this year. One of my New Year's resolutions this year, sorry, let me speak slower. One of my New Year's resolutions this year was to do more interviews, and I've done one. It's like July 20th. That's one of the, so when I think about topics for videos, I think the only reason I haven't done any interviews is because I haven't approached people. And but let's see. So Epic Apps. Okay, so Siddharth, yours is So Epic Apps. Okay, cool. Icon, I think the icon looks good. Wallmaker, you do rank first, and there's other things called that. Create wallpapers, tons to choose from. More designs, that looks good. Why does it say unreleased? Cool. With Wallmaker, you can design your own beautiful wallpapers for your smartphone in seconds. Wallmaker can create wallpapers. Cool. I mean, it looks good to me. I mean, is it wallpapers and backgrounds? Various device. Let's see. What kind of reviews do you have? Do you have any reviews yet? Let's see. Oh, because it's still unreleased. So, I mean, how's it doing, Siddharth? I think it looks good. Under personalization, I've never actually. I met one person once at an AdMob function who was a wallpaper designer, like a live wallpaper, and I've never thought about producing wallpaper apps, and I didn't know how he monetized. So, in terms of if somebody used your app and they were able to, my question just out of curiosity, it's not a criticism at all, is how do you monetize this if somebody goes and creates a wallpaper and uses the wallpaper? Are you only able to monetize when they create it using ads, or do you have it through purchases, or do you have it, I mean, how does that work? Do you have any control over it? I assume it generates an image, and then the image is used. I don't really know very much about that. I have a wallpaper app too, Waldrox. So let's have a look at Waldrox. Oh, this is Parash. So let's compare Parash and Siddharth's apps. Oh, Siddharth, you don't want to monetize it? Wait a second. You don't want to monetize it? Okay. Let's see. Oh no, it's Waldrox. Waldrox. Sorry, did I that wrong? Waldrox. Cool. All right, so you got HD wallpaper, 108 reviews. This looks like it might be doing pretty well. I like the screenshots here. See, this is very descriptive. How does this do, Parash, if you don't mind me asking? Let's see. Okay, so Siddharth, yeah, you don't want to monetize till it starts getting some positive reviews. That makes sense, I guess. You could always release it later with some ads. But then the people see, if you release it without ads and then you release it with ads later, the people who all of a sudden they've been liking and using your apps and all of a sudden there's ads, they are gonna immediately go in and leave a bad review. They're gonna go in and say, it was better before. Oh, ever since version 1.4, it's gone downhill. Now there's ads. Oh, it was better before it had ads. But that's just, that's my opinion. That's, at some point, you're going to get the bad reviews because of ads. So it's better they know I think it's better they know what they're in for, but that's just me. I really, don't know. So, cool. I think that's it. I think we've answered all the questions. Does anybody have anything else they want to bring up? Anything else before we convene this live stream? Let's see. I love it if you try it. I'll have a look at that. I don't have an Android. Parash, I don't have an Android phone at the moment. I do. I have several Android phones on my device, but my main phone at the moment is an iPhone, which is, it's like for my sins. I have to use an iPhone for some stuff. Let's see. Oh, Tom. Hey, how's it going? Tom Sutherland's here. Hey, everybody. Tom Sutherland's here. All right. We can finish. How's it going? Let's see. I'm working on a monster update for my biggest app. I'm looking forward to you getting your opinion on it when it's ready. Cool. Yeah, send it through. Let's see. Siddharth says, is total download removal from developer console a good thing or bad? I don't know. A lot of people in the comments have said it's a bad thing. I don't know. Because I don't know. For me, like I said, my biggest app, we released it in 2012. So when I look at total downloads, a lot of those app downloads are from ages ago. People have installed and uninstalled it and forgot about it years ago. So I'm not sure how that helps. But other than it makes me think, yeah, man, 6 million people have downloaded this app, but only 83,000 have it right now. So it's, you know, maybe it's that 83,000. That's what I should be more concerned with. It's not the one of them. The first metric, other than bragging rights, I don't know how that helps. And the second metric, the active installs, is the one that I should probably be more focused on. So I think it's probably a good thing. And then, like I said, other newer apps coming into the scene, and there's no way they can get 6 million downloads overnight, so they're always going to be ranked low if it's based on that. So I think it's probably a good thing for newer developers, but that's just for me. So let's see. Adam Major says you can still get info about the total download, but it's just not super important info. Yeah, I think it's not that important too. Although I love looking at it. Mr. Netu says depriving the developer of information is obviously a bad thing. Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah, that's a good point. As long as the developer understands it, there's no reason to not show them it. Yeah. See, I'm just waffling. I'm just going both ways on this. Drew Bajati says, "Where is Rodrigo? He was here earlier. He's actually doing some work on the Overpass team. So he's helping with one of our projects. So he may have done it." Siddharth, can you contact me directly? Perhaps. I think it's better if we do it in public forum, just because then we don't have to do like a consultancy thing. Just the time's so limited, and it seems like I'm always just run off my feet sometimes. A lot of questions. If you email me, I'll see if I can answer some of them. But in terms of like setting up a meeting and everything, if we did that, I would have to charge you for the time and everything, and I think it's probably best if we do them on the live stream. Not to be rude about it, it's just that the time is so limited, and every time I have a meeting like that, I'm taking away from the clients who are also waiting for me. So I hope you understand that. So cool. All right, so everybody, hey, thanks very much for showing up to the live stream. Sorry I rambled on about my developer career, but I know I've talked about it in videos in the past. I don't have a daily video for tomorrow yet. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I think I talked about how I don't think I've missed a day in the last 4 or 5 months. I think tomorrow might be the first day I miss, unless I can think of something to talk about tomorrow. And a lot of people have been asking me to talk about mediation, but I'm not sure, because I haven't used mediation in a while. I don't know if I really want to talk about that yet. But so there may be a daily video tomorrow, but we'll try to come up with one, or maybe I'll just go back to hey Rodrigo, he's back. See, he's in the background. He's just listening in. So anyway, oh yeah, Mr. Neptune, let's give me a suggestion for the video for tomorrow. Too late. Okay, so so anyway, that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for joining the live stream. I'll see you guys possibly tomorrow on the daily video, and I'm gonna try this weekend to get a couple of videos done so that we don't miss a day. I'm trying to keep the streak going, but I know sometimes the topics are not that interesting and everything. So I'll catch you guys next week. Talk to you later. Oh, thanks for showing up.